What's up, everyone? Welcome back to YGC for part two of my mock draft 1.0. If you missed part one, go find it down below. Find some of the socials down below as well in the description. Follow us for more draft content, more football content. Let's get it rolling. We left off number 12 with the Broncos, and they sit packed here. They wait for their quarterback. They get their quarterback, Bo Nix. I almost had the Seahawks jump them for him, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's silly and stupid, but Bo Nix just sounds like a Broncos quarterback, and I feel like Sean Payton's gonna like him. You can't tell me otherwise. I'm just gonna go. We're gonna keep it simple there. Bo Nix. On to number 13 with the Raiders. I think Pierce wants to build a physical, tough football team, and I think there's a tackle here that fits that. Probably the best run blocker in the draft, and that's Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. He also gives you versatility as you can kick him in the guard if you need to. On to number 14, Marcus's Saints. They could definitely go alignment here. It's for sure in play, but I'm going to go best player available approach as Dallas Turner's still available here when he could have gone earlier. He's probably the best edge rusher in the class, at least among most people would tell you that. Uh, so best player available. I'm sure Marcus will be a fan of it. Dallas Turner from Alabama. Moving on to number 15, and this is when the Brock Bowers fall stops with the Indianapolis Colts. They can totally go a wide receiver here. This is where I think Brian Thomas area comes into play, maybe AD Mitchell. But we're going to take Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia. He's a dynamic weapon. Some will argue that outside of Marvin, he's the best pass catcher to take in this draft. And I think if you add him to that Colts offense, it becomes very interesting when you have Michael Pittman, you have Josh Downs, you have Jonathan Taylor in the background, Anthony Richardson coming back. You have Jelani Woods, who's an athletic freak, also at tight end. A lot of young athletic pieces going forward for that offense with Shane Steichen at the helm. Definitely something to be excited for if you're a Colts fan. At number 16, we're going to have another trade. Seahawks, they need a second round pick since they traded for Leonard Williams. They are going to trade down. The Eagles are going to come up. Seahawks move down to 22 and gain one of the Eagles' two second-round picks. Eagles come up to take the second corner off the board, Terrion Arnold from Alabama. And moving on to number 17, the Jaguars, they definitely could take a corner here as well. I'm going to have them take a wide receiver, though. I'm going to have them take AD Mitchell from Texas. Personally, I would take probably Brian Thomas Jr. here, and I like him more than AD, but I think there's a chance that not everyone's going to feel that way. There are definitely people that I think the consensus top three is Marvin, Malik, and Rome. I know some people will argue that order. And then some people will have AD at 4, and he is going to be the fourth wide receiver off the board in this scenario. What's that? Because that leaves us to 18 now. Bears traded down with the Bengals. They're going to take Byron Murphy the second. This hasn't happened as much recently, but he was once mocked very often to them at 9. So it makes all the sense in the world. If you trade back and then take him in 18, fortify the trenches on the other side of the line, believe it or not, I think they have a lot of offensive pieces in place. They could definitely take a lineman here. Maybe you take Fatnow for his versatility at guard or something, but I'm just going to go defensive side, build the trenches, defensive-minded head coach, Byron Murphy the second from Texas. 19 with the Rams. Troy Fatnow or Futana, I never say his name right. Apologize for doing that. From Washington. I think he can definitely play tackle in the NFL. As I said, he gives you that versatility to play guard. I know the Rams invested a lot into guard so far this offseason, but still, you got a versatile guy like that, and he might just end up being your left tackle of the future. And you look around the Rams offense and you look at their O-line, if you hit on a left tackle like this, it can go a long way in terms of them winning a lot of football games. I wanted them to take Jazon Newton here to replace Aaron Donald, but knowing them, they'll probably just take a guy in the later rounds like a Dwayne Carter, a Braden Fisk, depending on how far he falls, Chris Jenkins, and that will not be their Aaron Donald replacement, but fill a need that was created by him retiring. Moving on to the Steelers at number 20. This one's for our boy Joe. Jackson Powers Johnson, center from Oregon, and for Shamar, of course, another guest that is a Steelers fan that has been on. It's not a sexy pick. but you have a center for the next 8 to 10 years if you draft JPJ there, and I know Steelers fans will probably be happy about that. If you can have a long-term cornerstone at one of your five offensive line positions. Dolphins, this is where Jason Newton from Illinois comes off the board. Um, they had to let Christian Wilkins walk. You draft his replacement. I think it's as simple as that. They could definitely go offensive line here, just fix some problems there. They definitely have some holes there, but uh, draft that defense interior lineman that's going to get you some pressures to replace Christian Wilkins. At number 22, we have the Seahawks from the trade down with the Eagles. I had them taking Graham Barton from Duke. He listed as a tackle, has versatility across the whole offensive line. He'll probably come in and play guard for them. He also played center as a freshman, I believe. They have one of the worst, if not the worst, interior lines in the NFL. So that will just boost that immediately. You bring him in, and you're drafting for need, and you're drafting a good player in Grant Barton. Number 23, the Chargers from their trade with the Vikings as they got both their first round picks. I don't know if he's really going to fall this far. This is just how the board fell. But Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. I think the Chargers come out with J.C. Latham and Brian Thomas in this first round. You can't complain as a Chargers fan. Shout out to Brandon. I think this would be a great first round for them, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of the draft as they, of course, probably will accumulate more draft capital from that trade down. But J.C. Latham, Brian Thomas Jr., two huge needs filled in the first round, and you got really good talents at those positions now as well. 24, the Cowboys. Very quiet free agency. They lost Tyron Smith. You hear about it every day on ESPN. They're going to take Tyler Guyton here. They lose one great franchise tackle, and they hope to draft the next one. Tyler Guyton, tackle from Oklahoma. And another guy, Tyler Guyton, just sounds like a Dallas Cowboy for some reason. Green Bay Packers. This is where the white corner makes it. Cooper DeJean, Iowa. He provides versatility to the back end of that defense. You can play him at nickel corner. You can play him at safety. You can play him on the outside. They definitely could go lineman here. I don't think they go receiver. They never go first round receiver. So I'm going to say they just build the back end of that defense even more and try to win some more football games. And I truly think the Packers could make a lot of noise next year. And Cooper DeJean adds on to that. At number 26 with the Bucks, we have Jared Verse, edge rusher from Florida State University. There's always one player that in January gets mocked in the top 10 that come draft time, they end up falling to the 20s, and you're starting to see that now with Verse. But he comes in with the Bucks. You're probably getting great value with him this late in the first round, as this draft class is, as we see, is completely stacked. And he also just fills a very important need now with familiar faces like Shaq Barrett not being there anymore. I mean, you go look at that Super Bowl winning team from a few years ago. Of course, Tom Brady's not there, so that's a very big familiar face. But there's other familiar faces from that team that are no longer there. And Verse now comes in and replaces what Shaq Barrett was, hopefully. And now you have your edge rusher of the future, and you got him at 26th. We got another trade at number 27. The Cardinals are here from their trade last year with the Texans. They're going to trade down with the Lions. They'll probably get another later pick, like a fourth round pick, as the Lions then jump up 2 spots and then draft their corner that they need now that Cam Sutton decided to make it a bigger need than it needed to be. And they take Nate Wiggins, corner from Clemson. And that leads us to the Bills now, who the Lions presumably might have jumped to get a corner. Now, Bills could definitely take a wide receiver here. They're taking Kool-Aid McKinstry, corner from Alabama. I originally had him falling out of the first round, but I think the Bills, with some of their moves they've made this offseason on the offensive side of the ball compared to their defense, they're probably going to draft the defensive side of the ball first. They can definitely invest in the trenches as well. However, I just think they're going to replace the cornerstone players that they unfortunately had to move off of this past season after it didn't go the way they wanted it to go. They wanted to be raising the trophy at the end. It didn't happen. They had to move on from guys like Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Trey White, and so on. That leads us to 29 with the Cardinals. Latu Latu edge rush from UCLA. I truly don't know if he falls this far. I know there's concerns with injuries and so on. Um, I also heard that people will argue he's the best edge rusher in the class, and I think getting him at 29 for the Cardinals, this is a simple best player available approach. It's not necessarily a need, and so we're gonna go right now. Leatu Latu falls to 29 in the Cardinals, and I think that'd be a great pickup for them and tremendous value for them. And that leads us to the Ravens at number 30. I got them taking Amarius Mims, tackle from Georgia. Another guy that I don't know if he's truly going to be here at 30, but this is how the board fell, and that's what ends up happening. Uh, you have Stanley on the left side of that line. Now you have Mims on the right side. Sign me up for that. They lost Morgan Moses in that trade to the Jets. He comes in. You replace him. He's an absolute unit. He's 6'8", 240 pounds, and I think he has a very high upside. And that leads us to number 31 with the San Francisco 49ers. I think the upside of Chop Robinson rushing opposite of Nick Bosa is very high, and I'm going to make that selection. Now, is it really going to happen? Who knows? That's the fun of this, but I think I didn't know who to take here for them, in all honesty, and I saw Chop Robinson. I was like, you know what? They they made the trade for Chase Young. They were going all in. They wanted a guy opposite of Nick Bosa. Chop Robinson. The reason Michigan didn't ran the ball so much against Penn State is because they couldn't stop Chop. So put this guy opposite of Nick Bosa. We're going to see what happens. You get him at 31. I think there's a chance it's great value there, depending if he really hits his potential as a player. And to round out the first round, at pick 32, the Chiefs, who I almost had them trading up for Brian Thomas Jr. or even jumping teams like the Bills for a corner, because I think it's possible now with Snead being traded away. But we're gonna round it out with Ladd McConkey from Georgia going over the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to invest heavy into offensive weapons. I think this year they won a Super Bowl we critiqued it all year and they still won the Super Bowl. And now they're probably going to have even better weapons on the outside to go for a three-peat. And for a bonus, the Panthers, if Keon Coleman falls to the second, which he probably will, I could totally see him being the pick at number 33. So for the Panthers fans that unfortunately do not have a pick in this video, there you go. Now you do. Keon Coleman, 33rd overall. Let me know down below what you guys think of the mock draft. If you guys sat through part 2 and missed part 1, again, click on it, go find that video.